Oh, this is good. It's Trevor May day with Scotty Braun. That's it. You get two of us on a Friday. Let Trevor cook all Friday long, which he does on his own show, May Day, quite often. Trevor, good to see you. And just in case you needed a little more confidence, which I don't think you do, but just in case you wanted a little pump me up on a Friday, you are the most valuable position in the FT fam and in Major League Baseball. Why do I say that? How many relievers were dealt for at the trade deadline versus every other position?
I don't know, like 100.
Yeah.
We tried to count the number of transactions that happened that day, just in general, like players that were in one place and then went to another place. It was legitimately over 100, which is incredible. What a blast, though. It was a lot of fun being on this side of things and covering it and just having stuff happen in real time. I was fortunate enough to be being on a show with Hunter Pence, and so he understood the assignment too. We were excited. We were excited. A lot of yelling. It was a good time.
That's good energy. But
Good
you
energy.
realize sometimes in the off season, a few relievers get paid, and then many don't. And also many relievers, unfortunately, don't make it to free agency, good ones even. But then come trade deadline time, GMs go, wait, if we're going to make the playoffs, we use relievers in October more than we use starters. Last year, I believe, was 52% relievers in October versus 48% for starters. And I will say, I think they are doing something right because of the volatility and you want to catch a hot hand. It does make sense to do the trade deadline thing. Not to go too crazy because we got a lot to cover for the day, but I remember Andrew Friedman saying, I want to get all my work done in the offseason. So even loading up on relievers like Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott, etc. The problem is pitchers get hurt a lot. And then the problem on top of that is relievers are volatile. So you still might get to the trade deadline and be like, damn, I could use a high leverage guy.
It is crazy that relievers are so valuable in a very specific situation, namely making a playoff run, going deep into the playoffs, and then winning a World Series. They're like arguably one of the most, if not the most important positions to have at least covered. I mean, you need several guys, but you can really, really get a lot of value out of that. And this a great example of how this plays out is interesting. We was doing Sunday Night Baseball last week, and a graphic came up about Yohan Duran and Harrison Bader joining the Phillies, and it showed their WARs. And guess which one of those two guys had a higher WAR this year? Harrison Bader. But if you asked anybody who might be playing a much bigger role in a playoff, they would say the opposite. So it just goes to show you like how relievers are valued. You kind of have to get into the weeds to figure out if you want to do it with statistics. But there's one consensus, and that is the best teams have the best reliever cores going into the playoffs. The guys throwing the best back there tend to get the farthest.
Yeah, if you're in the playoffs, WAR might not be the right answer. I don't know if they're factoring in relievers the way that they should. Regular season, okay, you can make your cases. I mean, WAR is going to reward position players at premium positions playing every day. Cool, get it. But the playoffs are built differently. Things tighten up, including your pitching staff. So it's a good point. You might have to tell some of your buddies to work on something there if they don't have it already, because really it would benefit your brethren. So anyway, let's get to a team actually that's got a pretty good bullpen. Let's charge them out.
Charging the mound.
Mariners sweep. Mariners walk off. Dom Canzone with the walk-off knock for the M's. They've been pretty damn good since the trade deadline. I think 5 or 6-1 since the trade deadline. I will point out that Josh Naylor left that game last night early. Looked like he was wincing a little bit. Shoulder soreness is the word. It's the other shoulder because I think the other shoulder was bothering him, and then this one pops up for him. So here it is, pulled today due to a sore shoulder. That was on Thursday. And then Maury Brown, who covers the sport, said this is something to watch out for. He had issues with his shoulder on and off as recently as mid-June with the Diamondbacks. So you want to weigh, looks like a hard swing there. You want to weigh playing him, making the playoffs, and also making sure that Josh Naylor would be ready for an October stretch.
It looks like a little bit of a tweak. I think there's certain different swings you can see, then you can assume a certain level of maybe how bad it might be. But one thing about Josh Naylor is he swings hard, and he always swings hard. He's swinging off his helmet pretty much every time he swings, and that's just the way he plays the game. So, for him he needs to be able to do that to be as effective as he can. And it looks like something felt a little bit weird there. And but even the subsequent swings after it didn't seem like he couldn't swing anymore, just like he just was tentative about it, which gives me a little bit of hope. And I'll be honest, we can talk about his bat and his glove and what he's meant and how they have corner pop for the first time in recent history, the Mariners, that is. But I mean, the guy's got 11 bags since he's joined the team, which is crazy considering he's in the bottom 10 or 20% in the league in sprint speed. So, I mean, he's taking bags left, right, and center. That might be the biggest loss they have if he's not playing. So to give him a little bit of rest. We're in the dog days here, right? We're in August. This is the best time to get a few days off here and there. They're coming off a really good series. They're gaining some games on that division lead Astros. But if you do pass them now, you're going to have to stay ahead of them. So let's just take it one day at a time and make sure everyone's healthy and we're not risking anything.
Yeah, we've talked about the stolen base prowess of Naylor a lot this week, and I was thinking how coaches across the country, youth, high school, even college, are probably pointing to him as the poster boy for why you can steal bags and not be that fast, and just the whole baseball IQ and the feel for the game is important. But yeah, I want to double click on what you're talking about with the M's within the AL West. So first off, you're out in the Pacific Northwest. How much are the fans buying into this team? There's been frustration over the years because they've built a really nice core, especially on the starting pitching staff side of things, and bullpen's been pretty good. And here comes some offense for them, reinforcements in 2025. So as of right now, after that Seattle dub, you've got Houston 1.5 games clear of Seattle in the AL West, and then the Texas Rangers are 4.5 games back of first place Houston, but the Rangers in a fight for a wild card spot. That last wild card spot right now, it's like a Texas, Yankees, even Cleveland involved kind of battle. Obviously, Boston is still close enough where they can get caught. What do you think about the AL West and the AL wild card?
I mean, first of all, the sentiment up here is they jump on the bandwagon quick. They get back on the horse quick, and they love their sports, and they're really enjoying what they're seeing. They think, for the first time in a long time, really excited about moves done at the deadline. I think that even if they ended up not working out, that most fans would be like, you know what, we did the things we needed to do. You just got to go out and do the thing, win at that point. And so Jerry Dipoto is getting a lot of credit amongst the fan base that was souring a little bit on some of the moves recently. So that's all great. And the division is very competitive like you thought it would going, especially with the top 3 teams up there. I think they're all playoff caliber teams. I think the Mariners have a great opportunity with that starting pitching, and they're scoring more runs, and they've created more of a dynamic lineup that is kind of scary top to bottom. You can't really, there's not like a streak of 4 or 5 guys that you didn't have to worry about as much as you had in the past, and that has been closed up a little bit. So it's big thumbs up here. I got producer Henry in here working with me in the office, and he does a thing every day with his whiteboard in his office where he writes down his sentiment score for the Mariners, and he's been up in the 8s and 9s since for the last couple of weeks since they got Naylor. So and that continues. If we're going to go by the Henry barometer, things are good up here in Seattle.
Okay, well, it could have been even better. Why? Because they might have added another reliever for the stretch run. They were close, apparently, according to fan-sided insider Robert Murray, who was a guest host on Fair Territory yesterday. So I don't want to upset your boy because things are looking really good up in Seattle. And you can't have it all, right? You can't go to the candy shop and pick out everything. Jerry Dipoto did an awesome job addressing the top need, which was corner infield spots. But did you hear about this? Let's roll the clip.
On the hype train this morning, but I'm also thinking they're legit. They added Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez, and they almost got Joan Duran. And there was at one point that morning that he was traded that I thought he was going to be in Seattle, but they ended up getting the 2 sluggers, and both of them have been very good since coming to Seattle.
Isn't Duran's entrance with like a magenta-ish kind of thing. So that would have worked well up in that ballpark too in Seattle. I mean, it's working for the Phillies, right? It's close enough, red, whatever. But that still would have worked up in the Pacific Northwest, being that it's T-Mobile Park. But anyway, what could that have looked like for the Mariners? It's a good bullpen, but some teams loaded up super bullpens. I wouldn't say it's like that.
No, I mean, statistically, though, the park helps a lot. Statistically, they're still one of the top 3 bullpens, even this year, with Gabe Spire throwing some really great innings from the left side, the young Vargas kid. They kind of mix and match it and figure out the best way to get to the back end to Andres Munoz, who is one of the best lockdown closers out there. It would have been interesting to see, did Duran then become the 8th inning guy, kind of like Helsley is in New York right now? Probably. You usually rock with the guy you've had, and you don't want to mess that up, because that's usually, if that doesn't work out, it doesn't look good. So it would have been great to have him. I'm sure they would have loved it. He would have thrived in this ballpark probably up here, but you can't get everybody. No matter how hard, not even the San Diego Padres got everybody, and boy, did they try. So, but it's cool to think about. And by the way, his walkout probably would work anywhere. And the story behind that with Dustin Morse and the media team over there in Minnesota passing it on unprompted, just saying, hey, we worked really hard on this. Everyone here loves it. You guys will love it too. And then, of course, Philly fans being like, this was a thing we could have. Like that. This is something that, like, this is electric here. And of course, it just took off as surprising absolutely nobody, especially me.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more and more of that in the league. I mean, we are seeing a lot of that over the last few years. I think you're going to see even more of that because you have a spot like Philly that hadn't experienced it before. It creates another viral moment, another city that is loving it. And honestly, I mean, that can be your top memory at a game. I mean, they were booing. Yeah. Who were they booing the other day? Because Duran had to sit down. He was warming up. Kepler, yeah. But the Phillies fans were booing someone the other day because Duran was warming up. And then I think they had, a 5-run lead or something that turned into a non-safe situation. So he goes back down. And so whoever came into the game instead, they were booing that reliever as if, he was deciding the fate of the Duran entrance. But it just shows you how much it's capturing a city. Anyway, to stay on topic for one more minute here with the Mariners, very good team. A lot of personality, too. A lot of guys that are really fun to watch on the field. Naylor is definitely one of them. Geno Suarez is beloved in Seattle. Who else? Randy Arozarena, kind of fun to watch. Career high 23rd home run yesterday. So this team's good. This team's very good. Last one here, pop quiz at the finish line. Astros, Mariners, Rangers. Do they all make the playoffs?
I think it's entirely possible. Someone's got to win the division. For the West to have 2 of the 3 spots, it really is dependent, I think, on what happens with the Red Sox and Yankees, right? Because in order for that to happen, probably the Yankees would have to fall out. And I'll be honest, it's really hard to bet against the Yankees, no matter what's happening, and not making the playoffs, because they do it every single year. But it's been dark days there. So, but can't count Cleveland out either. So I think it's possible, but inevitably kind of unlikely, especially with how close the other 2 teams are.
Yeah, Boston, Seattle. Then it's the Yanks, 1.5 clear of Cleveland and Texas as of this show on a Friday, with big weekend matchups coming up, which we'll get into later on in the show. A little reminder, and then we'll get to next segment coming up. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel here on FT. We appreciate you. Next goal for us, 300,000 subs, which would be cool. Oh, look at that new little t-shirt we have. Baseball the way it should be, covered at foulterritoryshop.com. Shameless plug, but we don't do it enough. I get in trouble for it all the time. AJ yells at me for it, but he's not here. Haha. Anyway, subscribe to FT. Also, wherever you get your pods, if you're on the go, please be safe in the car and listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else. We'll be right back to talk Paul Skenes and the Reds. Kratz, there are a lot of people out there that pay rent and they don't get anything for it.
Might as well change that. You can get some rewards for flights, hotels, tons of stuff.
With Built, you can earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards airlines, hotels, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and much more. It doesn't stop there. Built is about making your entire neighborhood more rewarding. You can dine out at your favorite local restaurants and enjoy experiences just for Built members every month. They're turning a monthly expense into an opportunity to earn rewards and discover the best that your neighborhood has to offer. Your rent is finally working for you. Earn points on rent and around your neighborhood, wherever you call home, by going to joinbuilt.com/foul. That's joinbilt.com/FOUL. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/foul. Go for it. I have Built, true story, good rewards. Check it out. Hey, AL standings in the Central are worth a look, according to Mike G in the YouTube chat today. He said, look where the Guardians are, 6 games back of the Tigers. I get you, Mike. That's still a tall task. And Trevor, it's not unfathomable. It's happened before this time of year where teams are even close to 9 or 10 back. There's been those crazy stories. So 6 is not like off the charts wild, but Cleveland didn't add. They're good. I don't think they're great. Tigers are really solid. I know they've gone through more down times lately, but it's not like they've lost half their team. You know, if like there were some massive injuries like Scooble or somebody's down for the rest of the season, okay, we can make a case, but I don't see it. Could it get close? Maybe, but I don't see it. Do you?
Yeah, there would have to be a combination of collapse and a team kind of just getting hot in a way that I think that the Guardians are they're a very grindy team. They always are, even in the not the highest years they have. But I just don't think like we're going to look at a team who's going to rattle off like 14 to 15 games or something. They're still young. They don't quite have the star power. And I think that Detroit is playing about as poorly as they played all year, and that they could very easily turn a couple of things around and get right back to their winning ways and make it even harder. So it would take a lot, I think, in either direction for these two teams for that to happen. But 6 games isn't insurmountable by any means. It's a sweep or 2 away. So
yeah,
it's baseball, right? We're in August.
Yeah, I think wild card is a good goal for Guardians fans to keep an eye on standings wise. Better than box scores. It was a light Thursday, but it was a Paul Skenes day against the Reds. Reds are in it. They're competing for a wild card spot, and they got blanked. Skenes was money as usual. He's got like a ridiculous home scoreless streak going on. So if you're in Pittsburgh and you're depressed because the team always stinks, you do get Skenes day, and it is very fun. So it's 27 2/3 consecutive home scoreless innings. The youngest pitcher in live ball era to have 5 home starts without allowing an earned run. I think he's 14-0 this year with 3 runs of support. 3 runs is not a lot. That's less than the average you get from a team in a big league game. So he's used to these tight moments. He actually did get a little extra support in this one. But overall, just wanted to get a check with Mr. Pitcher here on what you're seeing from Paul. He's not the same pitcher this year, but he's just as good, if not better, with what he's finding in terms of his arsenal. A little less Ks. I haven't looked as much lately, but I know when I looked about a month or so ago, it was still way below the number that he was pumping last year in terms of K per 9 and K percentage.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's crazy about how good he's been, I mean, I think that we all thought this was entirely within the realm of possibility that to just repeat the results he had last year. But he came into spring training, and I remember there was kind of a big, not stink, but people were excited about hearing him adding 2 pitches after the season he just had. And then he said pretty explicitly, I want to have enough pitches to stay off of barrels and get early contact. And then also, if I'm going to get a strikeout, get it quickly and in as few pitches as possible. So he's taking his 3, 4, 5 pitch strikeouts. But beyond that, he's like, hit it to somebody. Like, I want to go deeper into games. I don't want this like ramp up of innings because I'm young and I don't have a lot of experience from college, which you simply can't throw enough innings in college to get yourself up to the ability to throw 180 to 200 in a season. He wanted to do that as quickly as possible, and the best way to do it was use the least amount of pitches as possible. And here we are, 4.5 months in, and he has done exactly that. And he's still striking out a good percentage of hitter. It's not like he's like not a strikeout guy now. He's still striking out like 10.5 per 9. He's just not the top of the league. He could be if that's what he's going for, but he would also probably have a lot less innings. So it's a trade-off. He knows that as a 22, 23-year-old. That is wildly impressive. And I mean, mission accomplished. He's doing exactly what he wanted to do and has stayed healthy. And I mean, it's just rinse and repeat at this point.
It goes against the grain a little bit. Relievers are in a different world, right? You're in for a short burst. Swing and miss is key. But for Paul, when he is trying to extend himself in a game, it does go against the grain of what most pitchers are taught to do these days, because Trevor, swing and miss gets you paid too. I feel like Skenes is on another level in terms of confidence and knowing that, you know, if he hits free agency, he's going to get paid as the top starter of all time if he keeps this up. So he can just do his thing. His ERA, as we tweeted yesterday after the 6 shutout innings, 1.94 on the season. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of guys are taught, obviously, velo, let's tunnel, let's make sure that we have a nice array as a starter, and let's make sure we have swing and miss because that limits contact, which leads to batted ball luck. And Skenes is like, yeah, I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of that so that I can make sure I'm going, 6, 7, sometimes 8 innings in these outings. And I don't think it necessarily has to do with the Pirates, although, getting the run support and even having the right bullpen intact is part of things. And he'd like to win more. He's going to have to do a lot more if he wants to win more with the Pirates, like maybe learn to, swing a bat and spend some money for his owner. Again, another topic. But what do you think about him kind of going against the grain of what most young starters are taught to do these days?
I just think he's just more advanced, and he found his ability to have true power stuff in college. Like, there's guys who don't know how it's going to play at the big league level or at a high level yet. I take like Mizorowski, for example, maybe Chase Byrne. Like, these guys are a little bit more raw, and they have really great stuff, and they know that is going to be the way that I operate. Like, this is what is going to get me and keep me here, and then they're learning about how to then use that stuff effectively here. He just is a couple steps ahead. It's just something he's already thought about. It was already on his radar as a 20-year-old, and he had elite command. He has elite command, and those guys don't, right? So that is kind of where it comes from. You maximize your stuff because you don't have command yet, and then you learn command. That's usually how it works in your first few years in the big leagues. He just he skipped that. He didn't need to do it. He was already there, which is funny because we're talking a little bit about going against grain. Another guy who pitches like this, gets his strikeouts, but very clearly isn't going for them, and that's Zach Wheeler. Has not won a Cy Young yet, which is, I think, a travesty at this point. But he's well on his way to maybe getting his first one this year. It's so funny we're talking about Paul Skenes, but Zach Wheeler does the same thing, doesn't walk people, doesn't try to strike everybody out, and has more counting stats across the board in the same way. But he does approach the same way. He wants to go 8 innings. Like, that is his goal. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a shift. You just have to be more advanced and more confident in your ability to throw the ball over the plate, and that your stuff will get you swings and misses whether you try or not. Like, that's the switch that flips. Usually guys are 27 when this happens. He's 22. I think that's why it's so impressive.
Yeah, and he has the leverage in a conversation if the front office and or coaching staff is talking to him about being careful down the stretch, like, hey, we're going to limit your innings a little bit the last month and a half. He's probably like, yeah, we're going to do whatever I want to do because I'm drawing fans and I've been doing what I want to do up to this point and it's working out for me. I mean, no offense to Ben Cherington, he might not even be there next year. So it might be a totally different front office working with him. Like, they gave him permission to the WBC. He's going to do whatever he wants, right? He's one of the faces of the sport. So I think they're just happy to have him right now. Hopefully the Pirates can figure some things out in the offseason. All right, let's do this on the way out. And then we're getting ready for Gavin Williams. He's about to be in the green room. We have a nice photo here for you, Trevor. It was more of like a surprise photo for Matt McLean. And it was O'Neill Cruz and Ellie De La Cruz, 2 of the largest humans in Major League Baseball, posing next to McLean. This was good.
I love it. I love that he's having fun with it. The jokes. You got to be able to take a joke when you play Major League Baseball. That is for sure. So it's good to see it. But yeah, it's funny because McLean, that guy can hit. He's a compact power guy, and the other guys are long levered, right? That's just different strokes, different folks, I guess.
Yeah, he's got a serious size deficit with those two, probably about a foot. Real quick, we have a quick minute here. The Cincinnati Reds. Do you like their chances for the last month and a half here to make a run at a wild card? Of course, you're going to need a team to kind of fall back, and it's hard to see that. Maybe it's the Mets. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but you're going to need a team to fall back because it looks like that really clear top six in the National League. I think the Reds are good. I think they'd be a playoff team in the AL, and I like their pitching staff. I didn't think their offense is probably good enough. They did improve run prevention with Key Brian Hayes. We'll see if he hits. But what do you think about this team? Like, I think they have a shot. I do think a team needs to collapse, though. I don't think the Reds are going to go on a ridiculous run, but could they be a few games over 500 for the last month and a half of the season? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I feel like we've been talking about this for 3-ish years. They go on a little run, they get about a couple games over 500, and then the wheels fall off again. They lose 6 in a row, and then they're back to kind of just being around there. But I think the young guys have been there. Ellie's been there for a while. McLean's been there for a while. They have the pieces. They're healthy. They're all playing, and their pitching staff has gotten better. They did add some meaningful pieces at the deadline that should help them and improve the defense and have some experience. Like, it would be great to see a Cincinnati Reds sneak in, make some noise, and maybe make a little run. Because it's always nice to see teams we haven't seen in a while make a playoff appearance. And the one of the benefits of having more playoff teams now is hopefully we see this more often. So I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility. And honestly, it'd be really fun to see a bunch of wildcard teams all get hot and to have it go down to the wire, kind of like it did last year. That'd be a lot of fun, with just teams playing really well, not one team collapsing and one team playing playing incredible, because that isn't as fun, in my opinion. And maybe I'm being a little biased here because I think we know who I am talking about.
Well, also, I mean, in the National League, we had a conversation the other day about playoff projections. Unless the Reds make a nice run or the Marlins do something really crazy, there are 6 really strong teams in the National League. So it could get very boring, the playoff race. You'll have seeding, you'll have buys, but as far as who makes it playoff wise, if the Reds do fall off a little bit and the Marlins come back down to earth and the rest of those top 6 just do their thing, it could be a very vanilla playoff race for the last month and a half of the National League. I don't think the American League will be like that, but National League could end up that way. So we'll see if the Reds can put things together. I mean, I like what they've done the last few years in terms of focusing on drafting and developing as much pitching as possible, trading for pitching. I liked the Zach Littell pickup at the trade deadline because it's not that easy for them to convince free agents to sign there, right? I mean, you essentially have to overpay if you're Cincinnati. I'm generalizing, but usually that's the case. And it has nothing to do with the ballpark experience, the team, right? They're competitive. They'll treat you well, but the ballpark won't treat you well in terms of your results as a pitcher generally, right? They're probably in that top 3 conversation among pitchers. You tell me. And I know ballpark factors change year to year, but not every player is paying attention to it to that extent. Don't you generally think there's like 3 or 4 parks where guys say, yeah, that's going to take a little extra money for me? Colorado, of course, part of the mix there too.
Yeah, and I think that stuff gets kind of wiped out, though, if you have an offense that can take advantage of it, i.e. the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a bottom 3 park too. Like, somehow they get all the pitching, right? So it's like, but they're like, well, we're probably going to score 11 runs every game, though. So like, I am okay with that. And I think that I trust that, the pitching side of that stuff to help me out there. And, to be completely open and honest, Colorado and Cincinnati don't have that reputation right now. So, it is something that factors in, and it makes it tougher to go and say yes when you don't know if the team's going to be good either, or if the offense is going to be good enough to, help offset some of those problems. So it's possible, but yeah, it's definitely one of the many factors that goes in when pitchers are trying to figure out what offers they want to field and what they want to ignore.
Yeah, like if you were a free agent right now and you're a starter, and forget even what the cities are, it doesn't matter, and figure both teams are competitive. if Cincinnati gives you a call and they're like, hey, Trevor, 3 years, 10 a year, and then another team with at least a mid-range ballpark, right, kind of balanced in terms of if it's a pitcher's or a hitter's park, gives you a call, I know you're going to factor in other things. But if you take this in a vacuum, you're not going to go to Cincinnati unless they pay you a little bit more, right? Because, I mean, it's going to affect numbers, and it could affect your performance in your career, right? Like you could fall off. Guys lose confidence.
Exactly. That is kind of how the scales get balanced when you're making these decisions. And it's not, I mean, I know the assumption is that money is like the top of the list for every single guy. And for it's up there, top 3 usually, because usually it's the currency be like you're adding or subtracting what you're looking for based on who is reaching out. And that is something that can make up for some of maybe the deficiencies that aren't going to either help you in your career, or the team's not great right now, but they're going to build or whatever. Selling the dream of getting you to come to a team that maybe doesn't have everything figured out right now, the money is one way to compensate for that. So, of course, that is the way it works. But in a vacuum, if you were just considering the park, and if you're going to play, if you're more likely to be able to get away with mistakes or not, you're going to choose the place that at least you're going to have, you can count on that, and at the place with the better park factors. And if they're not willing to go a little bit above and make it sweeten the deal a little bit, then that's what happens. But that's just kind of, I mean, that's true in every sport when it comes down to, I mean, there's no park factors in the other 2 major sports, or actually the other 3, including hockey. But, where you're at, the area, the fan base, like all this stuff is going to factor in as well. And that rings true in baseball.
That's why if you're Nick Kroll running the Reds front office last year, you're like, oh, everyone thinks that I should pick Charlie Condon, number 2 overall. Yeah, we're good. We're going to go Chase Burns. We're going to add another big arm. Thank you. And then at the trade deadline, adding Littell, Key Brian Hayes is definitely more of a pitching, run prevention kind of guy. Even if he, finds himself at the plate again. Anyway, let's get to a pitching conversation with the big man from the week, Gavin Williams of the Guardians, joining us next. It's summertime, it's bathing suit time, and it's time to get a better bathing suit liner. It's 2025, Kratz. I would like to feel more comfortable, and I would like to thank Fair Harbor for doing that.
It's super easy. Get the Fair Harbor Breeze Knit liner in your shorts. You can go play football on the beach, you can play paddle ball, and you don't got to worry about that crappy liner that other bathing suits have.
It is so comfortable. You got to check it out. I'm telling you, it's like butter, baby. You got to check out the Fair Harbor, not only bathing suits, but they carry a full line of casual clothing, shorts, shirts, hoodies. Go to the website, fairharborclothing.com/foul, and use code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. That's fair, HARBOR clothing.com/foul for 20% off your first purchase. And make sure that you use the FT promo code so that they know we sent you and you get the discount, FOUL. We're back for 2 minutes, and then Gavin Williams is joining us, Guardian starter, getting himself set up and ready for this one. Trevor, quick note here. Braves won yesterday. 2 homers for Drake Baldwin. He's definitely very much in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but I wanted to spend a minute here on Chris Sale. He's rehabbing. It sounds like he should be back somewhat soon, at some point, I think this month. Some Braves fans were freaking out online. Here he is doing some sim, but some fans were like, why even pitch him? We're out. And then I saw back and forth with some beat writers like, you want him to just not pitch for a month and a half just to save him for next year. So Chris Sale's going to go out there and he's going to pitch. And Braves fans, you'll be okay. It's not sacrificing next year.
Yeah, I mean, what, are we resting him so that we can rest him for 4 more months? That doesn't make any sense. He's a competitor. I think especially coming off an injury, you want to see what's still there, maybe what mechanical changes have come from it, because it was a side injury. There's a lot of rotational stuff. There's things that he can pay attention to, and you want to go, but you do want to go into the offseason feeling good, feeling strong, and build on something. And Chris Sale's one of the best in the game for a reason. He knows that stuff. That is the goal moving forward. And yeah, the season didn't pan out the way you wanted it to, but you gotta, like, the guy, his job is to pitch. He would tell you that. He's like, I mean, don't you guys want me to do my job regardless of if it's going to translate into me pitching into the postseason? I think that's what you're supposed to do. So I won't worry about it. Seeing a sharp Chris Sale should make you excited for next year.
Yes. Here we go. We've got Guardian starter Gavin Williams joining us right now, coming off a big week, a huge outing, carrying a no-hitter into the ninth against the Mets. Gavin, great to have you on. Scott Braun here and Trevor May. How's the week going for you?
The week's going good. I mean, it started off by getting a 101 card for me, for myself, from a fan, a Mets fan, actually. Just traded a jersey, a hat, got him some tickets to the game. So it's been a good week for me.
Wait, tell me. So what did you get? What was the deal?
So you got a 101 chrome soft something. It's like an orange or some kind of barrier to it. And then somehow got up with our public relations people. And then they asked me if I wanted to trade anything for it. I was like, for sure. I'll definitely take a 101 of myself. So it was pretty easy. Just had to sign a jersey, wrote a little letter to him on there, and then that's about it.
So are you a big card? I'm assuming you're a big card guy. That's something that I honestly, no one ever approached me about that. So you big card collector, is this like one of your big things?
I wouldn't say card. I've been collecting more baseballs, signed baseballs and stuff like that first. I got a good collection going so far of baseballs. I mean, I got Miguel Cabrera, I got Tito, got Mike Trout, Bobby Witt. I got some big names in there. So I'm gonna keep going on with that.
So are you a send the clubhouse guy over, or do you like to personally ask for the autographs?
I've done a little bit of both. Usually it's just the clubhouse guy going over. I feel like that's the easiest way to do it.
Safest. Definitely the safest.
Definitely
it's a little weird asking. Sometimes it's a little weird asking guys you're sharing the field with, or you got to strike out later to sign a baseball for you. I totally get it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got some buddies that I'll ask, but that's about it. Definitely got to send the clubhouse guy over, though.
Definitely.
All right, Gavin, let's get into the good stuff here. Take me through the experience against the Mets, from, what was going on before that start, how you were feeling going into that matchup, all the way through your ninth inning emotions. Soto finally breaks up the no, and Stephen Vogt was like, I'm letting this guy eat 126 pitches. We rarely see that. I'm sure you've talked about it a lot already in interviews, but our crowd definitely can tend to want to see pitchers eat, and they want to hear about the old school experience that Stephen Vogt brought for you. So how did that all go down, and how cool was it for him to let you do that?
Yeah. I mean, at that point when I went out for the ninth, if it took me 150 pitches to try and get a no-hitter done, then, I mean, that's what I would have done. I mean, the velo was still there, as everyone sees, but, I mean, it was just a surreal moment. Doesn't really happen that often, and being able to get in that position and stay in that position throughout the whole game and a good lineup, it was phenomenal.
What do you think the kind of X factor was Arsenal wise? What was working the best for you that day? What pitch, or maybe combination of pitches, I guess. I never got close to throwing no hitter, so I'm assuming there's probably more than one. But what were you most confident in throwing? What was working the best?
Honestly, the cutter and the sinker. I felt like the cutter wasn't there as much as I've had in the past, but I threw it to get them off balance, and then throwing the sinker to lefties and righties, which that was the first time I threw it both, the lefties and righties. Just get them off the heater. I know in the past I threw 50% heaters in games, so being able to get the guys off the heater is big. I knew it through the sweeper or slider, whatever you want to call it. I feel like I didn't even have that really throughout the game.
Well, you mentioned the cutter. and this is something that a friend of mine and a guy who follows your career pretty closely, Saris, loves your cutter and your changes of your cutter. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, and I'm glad you brought it up. So your cutter usage is the highest it's ever been. You learned that pitch last year, correct?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a slider last year, but I was hurt, so I couldn't really get on top of the ball that much.
Okay.
So I brought it back this year after, I think it was the playing the Orioles, gave up 5. I only had 3 pitches like in the first 5 or 6 starts, so I needed to add a couple more just to be able to get the hitters off the heater, not throw it as much.
And it seems to have been working out, as you mentioned. In terms of the cutter, what has it unlocked for you, and what about the pitch has got you thinking, wow, this is what I want it to be, as opposed to the slider that maybe you're trying to throw before? What made you land on cutter is the way to go?
I think it's my biggest strike pitch. I feel like I can throw it in any count, in front of the count, behind the count. Doesn't really matter, lefties, righties. I can throw it at any point and know I can either get a strikeout or a rollover or a pop up.
Gavin, I want to ask you about the development machine pitching wise that Cleveland has built. So can you take me through your draft experience, which you can definitely sprinkle in? I think you were drafted 3 times, how you end up with Cleveland, what they showed you, what they taught you to do, and how you've gotten to this point, right? What's refined? What did you learn from them?
Yeah, I think going out in Arizona, just learning about all the different kind of technology, like the edge, the TrackMan. I know I didn't use any of that in college, and then didn't really care about it when I got drafted. And then the more I got to throwing and getting off the mound, seeing how I can use all of that and see how I can redefine all my pitches, it's helped out a lot with Cleveland. I mean, it starts with all the tech guys, and then all the pitching coaches. I mean, they're all smart. They're unbelievably good and talented at everything they do, showing you what to work on and what you need to do to fix everything. So it's been a big transition from the bottom up for me.
So you've, according to our numbers, you've thrown over 100 pitches 8 times this season, which is, if I'm assuming, I don't know the numbers on everyone else, but that seems high. It doesn't seem like this happens as much. And 126 obviously is a very high number. But how important is the 100 pitch mark very important for you to get to, or that you're doing well when you're like going that long? And what was going through your mind when you were like, I think I'm at like 150? Did you realize you were at like 115, 120, especially after the Soto broke it up? Were you excited to face more hitters after that?
Yeah, I think in the 7th inning, came in into the dugout after that inning, and Voter yelled out, "Keep going, Gavin." I looked up, I was at 97 pitches. I was like, this dude wants me to keep going. And then I finally looked at the scoreboard and saw what was going on, and I think I got to like the 115 mark or 111th mark. I was like, dang, I'm cooking right now. Hopefully I got some more in the tank. And then obviously Soto left it up just a little over the plate for him, and he took a good swing. But it was nice getting a refresher after he hit that, and Carl coming out and giving me a little break, trying to get 2 more outs after that.
Were you surprised they let you go after that? Because, of course, many organizations are freaking out soon after the century mark, and they're like, okay, but once the no-no's gone, and then Soto hits the homer, obviously you guys are in command still of that game. Were you surprised that they let you go after that?
I was a little surprised, but I knew I have 2 extra days this week. We had an off day yesterday and then off day Monday, so it surprised me a little bit, but not too much. And I also knew there was nobody warming up in the pen at that point, so I was either going to have to finish it or they were going to have to waste some more time for me.
Hey, one more on this with pitch counts. I know you've talked about it a lot this week. Do you think that it's something that needs to be revisited in our sport? It really goes down to the minor league level, where there's some starters that are babied so much for a long period of time, right? It's like, oh, we're only going to let you go 3 innings, or, we're only going to let you go 50 pitches. And then a few months in, maybe we'll extend things. Not every org's doing this, but many of them are, right? They're super careful. And let's be real. I mean, the sport definitely has an arm injury epidemic going on. So I'm not going to act like I know what I'm doing. It just doesn't sound like anyone knows what they're doing. So do you think that there needs to be less of a structure? I mean, you're 6'6", 250. Maybe you can handle a little bit more than your average starter.
I think it just depends on the organization. I know there's a lot of innings to cover in the minor leagues, and then I mean sometimes it's a guy's first year, so they're just trying to do workload stuff. But I think it depends on the guy and like how many innings they have in the past to really worry about the pitch count and if they need to go less or more. I think there's a bunch of science behind the pitch count, really.
I was listening to some radio this morning, and your manager, Stephen Voti, was on there and asked about the decision to leave you in as long as he did. And the comments he made were effectively what you just said. I know this guy. I know what type of work he does, and I know he's going to take care of his body in between these two starts. He's built to do this thing, and it's specifically, I feel this confidence. I trust him because I feel like he can handle it because of what you do between your starts. So does that resonate for you in a way? Like, is that something that you are actually out here trying to foster and be like, yes, that's exactly what I want you to feel when I get out there and pitch, that I can take care of myself and be ready to go, even if I throw more pitches one week, one start over another.
Yeah, 100%. I know Corey Kluber, he's working with us now, and I've talked to him plenty of times about what I need to do between starts and what he did. So now I see the massage therapist 3 times a week. I get one the day after I start, and then bullpen day, and then the day before I start, I see the massage therapist, and she's big into my routine, and I can't thank her enough for what she does day in and day out for me and just all the other pitchers.
Man, there's nothing better than the post start. Actually, post any relief appearance too. Massage is the best. I've also been told that you in high school threw back-to-back no hitters. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
So I have a question.
Back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question because I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I did 3. So I guess the question is, why didn't you pull off that third one?
Because I got taken out early. Pitch count, or not really pitch count. It was a 5-inning game, so can't really count a 5-inning game.
So you hadn't given up hits in that one either. So it all makes sense. That explains why you want to go 126 pitches in outings. Makes sense.
I need to get my third one so I can catch up with you.
And maybe someday you'll get to do this.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Wait, just to clarify real quick. So you did the 2, and then the third one was a shorter game. So you did the 5-inning no, but it's not enough for a game.
Yeah, it's not enough for a game. Can't count that.
Yeah. Okay. But it's like kind of
7 innings or more in high school, at least.
Okay. It's kind of like good asterisk though, because there's nothing else you could have done. I mean, you did not give up any hits for the 5, so that actually like kind of brings Trevor down a notch. He was coming in here like I got 3 in a row, and Gavin's like, I kind of did.
I mean, he's got the full game under his belt. I don't. So
True. Well, you've got something cooking in the majors here, man. It was awesome to watch. We appreciate you joining us. It was a really fun game. Cool to see even the crowd out there in New York, which can be hostile, give you a nice standing O at the back end of that. So, Gavin, thanks for joining us, man. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. That's Gavin Williams from the Cleveland Guardians. Big week for him. Pitching Ninja joining us next. AJ, I'm on my phone right now in Arena Club, and I'm looking at the Emerald slab packs, and I see in the Grail a Bobby Witt Jr. 2020 Bowman Chrome Prospect Auto Gold Refractor card.
Give me that. Give me your phone. I'm gonna get you to
you gotta buy
that to me.
I don't have it.
I thought you had it.
Get a slab pack. No, I don't have that.
Then give me your slab pack.
That card's worth.
You buy
a lot.
me slab pack, Scott, so I can get the Bobby Witt Jr. Gold Refractor 2020 Bowman Chrome Auto, because that sounds awesome.
And it's worth a lot.
It's worth a lot. He's a stud. He's not going down. Get a Grail. I want a Grail, Scott. Give me the Holy Grail. You do it.
To do that, you must get yourself a slab pack in Arena Club. Or if you want to get it for a friend, you can do that too. And right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or your first card purchase. If you're going on there and you're just like, hey, I want a specific card, I find it there, I want to grab it for my showroom, arenaclub.com/foul, and use the code FOUL. Quickie 2 minutes here. Jose Alvarado working his way back. He's eligible to return from suspension, I think, in about a week and a half or so. Trever is on his rehab assignment now, and his first rehab appearance produced an inning, a hit, 2 strikeouts, touched 98.6 with that sinker. It's going to help the Phillies in this stretch run here, not in the playoffs. But did you see the apology? What did you think of the whole deal? He didn't go with the excuse route, went with more of the legal, I did, but I didn't, not legally, but like kind of admitting it kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, something is always good when it comes to your teammates. I've been on teams with, some of this stuff happened with Michael Pineda in 2018, maybe, I think it was, or 19. And he stood in front of the team and gave a very clear, and he's a very honest guy and very passionate guy. So that was just his style. And then some guys, like, just the circumstances, it's embarrassment, it's whatever, it's a little more muted. But an acknowledgement, I think, goes a long way. I think that everybody in that clubhouse understands the situation, whether it was on purpose or not. Also, like, there's a level of understanding temptation as well, depending on whatever the situation was. I just think there's no group of guys that's going to understand where you're coming from more than other players. So it always meant a lot to us, just regardless of what it was. I played with Marwin Gonzalez after the stuff about Astros came out, and he just owned it too. So it was valuable, and it's good to see him say something.
All right, we've got Rob Friedman, aka Pitching Ninja, back on FT. It's good to see you, Rob. It's already August, man. I look down, I'm like, man, we haven't seen Rob Friedman in a minute. How you been?
I've been good. I miss you too.
Yeah, we like these combos, and I don't know if we've had Trevor on for these combos, but obviously we were nerding out a little bit more than usual today. Some of the frat boys are off the show today, so Trevor and I can just nerd out. But let's start off this way. Nastiest pitch that you've seen, and I'll put it in 2 directions. One, like the actual pitch, like in one particular game, one pitch, but then also just in general, like which pitch are you enjoying watching from starter or reliever on the mound this year?
That's a great question. I think I can come up with 2 that just hit me off the top of my head as far as nastiest pitch. One is a Joe Ryan sweeper that was originally measured at like 30 inches, and I think they scaled it back to 28 inches of break or something like that. That was insane. It just, all the right elements happened, and the thing just broke like crazy. The other one I was thinking of is Jacob Mizorowski against Willie Castro with that, was a 96-mile-an-hour slider that sent him to the netherworld. That was pretty sick. And as far as guys, I think he might have just the most eye-opening filthy stuff. Like, you have to watch every pitch that he throws because you might see something you've never seen before. But there are a lot of filthy guys out there.
We asked that question. Now I'm like over here. I kind of want Scott to interview both of us, just get the same questions for both, because I was going to say, he's going to say the Joe Ryan sweeper. If I remember correctly too, I saw it on your account, he also like ran off of the camera screen and I was like, I kind of went with the ball, which also I think added a little bit. Another question along the lines of nasty pitches. I want to stick to rookies because I feel like you have a pretty good idea. Of the rookies that come up, we can include Mizorowski too. Is there any pitches that you did not anticipate to see that surprised you when you're like, whoa, I didn't know he had that? Is there anyone who's come up this year that has actually blown your mind with the pitch?
Well, there are 2 guys. I don't know if they surprised me. Mizorowski's one of them. Like, I didn't expect his command to be as good as it had been. Like, he looks like a taller Jacob deGrom at times, and that's ridiculous. The other, Chase Burns, I knew his slider was really good, but his slider may arguably end up being one of the top sliders in baseball. Like, he is certified electricity when he's on the mound. And I wish more people would watch that. They pay attention to the runs, which he's had some bad luck. But if you look at his pitches and his strikeouts and his swing and miss stuff, you can't miss that guy.
All right, I've got a rookie for you that a lot of the world maybe has forgotten about because he's been missing for most of the season, but it sounds like he might come back soon, and he's experimenting with a two-seamer. Did you see the recent comments from Roki Sasaki, and do you think that he's going to work on adjusting so that he can, pitch in the big leagues? Not that he couldn't, right? He got hurt. That's really why he's been missing time here. But I thought it was fascinating for him to take us inside, what's going through his head as he's going to rehab here. He thinks that he needs to remodel his game a little bit, which every pitcher does to an extent. What did you think?
I think he's probably right. So his fastball doesn't have, it's fast, but it doesn't have amazing characteristics. And hitters are waiting for that fastball because they can't hit his forkball / splitter, whatever he calls it. That pitch is virtually unhittable. But if you eliminate it and you sit on a fastball, you can have some pretty good luck. But adding another fastball variation, you've seen it work with other guys. I mean, Hunter Brown just took off once he added that two-seamer. I think it might help him just keep hitters off that kind of flattish fastball. And, he's young, he's got amazing talent. And I left him out because yes, his forkball, which it really is one of the filthiest pitches in baseball. But adding that other weapon, I think is going to be really important for him and could help him succeed in the majors. I think he was caught a little flat-footed by the drop in velo because of the injury, but also hitters, if they eliminate a pitch, they know 100-mile-an-hour fastball is coming, it's easier to hit.
You brought up a great point about the two fastball kind of, to use a gaming term, meta. And I feel like this is something a lot of guys are doing. Like Paul Skenes talked about adding a sinker and a cutter just because, even though he was as good as he can, because he knows what he's going to need as things change. And Roki, this is a great example. I said this early in the career, in the year too. I'm like, he's going to need something that goes either that way or that way at some point in order to get lefties and righties out and get away from platoon splits. So what is your opinion on, do you think this is having two fastballs, that is, do you think this is a trend that is going to become more necessary and stay necessary for a long period of time? Or is this going to be one of the trending pitches, kind of like everyone threw a sweeper, and now some of the guys who can throw a sweeper have kind of stopped, and now it's kind of evened out. What is your opinion on the idea of throwing more than one fastball?
I mean, I think that's a great question. To me, the more pitches you have that you can command, the better off you are for even things like tipping pitches. Like if Paul Skenes has 8 pitches, even if he's tipping a little bit, because everybody has something, it's really hard to figure it out if you have 8 different variations of different pitches. So I think that the trend towards more pitches is going to keep going because it's going to be also easier to pick up tips where we have biomechanics basically on the field with Hawkeye stuff. You can run it through AI and figure out what guys are doing differently on different pitches, even if it's a tiny bit different. But if you have to remember 8 different things and remember slight variations, I think it's tougher. So I do think there's a trend towards that. Whether it's all going to be sinkers, I don't know. But we're calling them sinkers. They're not. Some of these aren't even designed to be sinkers. They're two-seamers that designed to kind of stay up in the zone as opposed to your traditional sinker. So there's so many different variations. I think the trend is more to more pitches that guys can command.
I'm just curious, just quick side question for you. Did you see the Yusei Kikuchi story about how he tried to add a sweeper, and I think he had it, I guess, early in the season, and then it was lowering his arm slot and he felt like it was messing up his other pitches. How often are you seeing that part of the equation where it can actually, I mean, for the most part, it's producing some really cool results for a lot of starters, right? But it could mess you up and not just be a try and it's like, oh, pass or fail, right? And then I'll throw this pitch out. It could be like, oh, wait, this is throwing my entire game off and now I'm in a rut. And then he's picked it up after he ditched that. But what do you think about that side of the equation?
It's definitely a thing. You have to monitor it. It's pitcher specific. Some guys will manipulate the ball a little more and then they're tipping it, or it's not coming out of the same tunnel that their other pitches are. It's just easier to pick up. Like a sweeper works for some guys, it doesn't work for other guys because it looks so much different from the rest of their pitches that a hitter can say, they're not necessarily even seeing the spin axis of a pitch. They may be saying, oh, that looks different from everything else I'm seeing, so I know this is that pitch. But some guys, I think Paul Skenes does a great job of just being robotic almost and throwing different pitches. Seth Lugo, he can even vary arm slots. Like you have guys that totally vary arm slots that are successful. Chris Bassett's another guy. But there are other guys where it's just one that's an outlier, and then you can pick up on it. Even if it's nasty metrically, it doesn't mean it's nasty in a game.
You make several very good points there. I also have some experience in basically showing some numbers on a pitch when I'm trying, and they're like, it looks really nasty. I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw it all the time, and not really thinking about all the other things that are going to come along with it. That was a splitter. It ended up hurting me, and it actually ruined every other pitch I threw to where I could only throw a splitter. That wasn't what I wanted. But two things you mentioned, we're talking about grabbing a new nasty pitch and deciding when to use it, and tipping. And there's a guy that has a new nasty pitch, but may have had a couple different times this year tipping, and I want your opinion on it. Jesus Luzardo added a sweeper, which is, he could not throw a slider for the life of him. Now he has one of the nastiest ones in that staff, even, that has a lot of good pitches. But I think once, maybe even twice, he has had some trouble with tipping his pitches and having them relayed to hitters. Were you able to look at any of Jesus's outings around this time, and did you see any tips? Did you see anything they're picking up? I have my opinion, but I would love to hear yours.
I did, and I'm trying to remember what it was, because I did a video comparing the two, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, God, it's on X." And I did the video, and I can't remember because I later did one on Mick Abel too, who was also, I think, tipping, which is why teams were teeing off on him as well. There's just little things like glove position when you're lifting up your glove, and one's going over his shoulder and one's not. I forgot what
I think he was tapping his glove. He taps his glove and he brings the ball.
He was taking it out of his glove really far too, so that you can he was almost showing his grip to a runner on base
every time. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's what it was too. I was hoping you saw that as well. And
that's
also
what it was.
With the sweeper, he's spiking that a little bit too, so you can see the knuckle. And it's funny because in that outing you look, and on his face he's like, I know they can see it. I can't stop tapping. Like, this is not something I can start doing, which is an interesting situation. But it's one of those pitches. He still threw it, and it was still really good.
One of those things along those lines is like, people are blaming your pitching coach or whatever, but sometimes it's tough to pick up. Like, you're seeing a nasty pitch, you can't see everything a pitcher's doing consistently, but the opposing team often does because they're game planning for something. Then it's a cat and mouse game. You have to stamp it out once you see it.
I got one for you on a struggling pitcher. Not necessarily a tip, probably not. I don't think he does that, but I think there was a little blister issue causing a problem. We got a fan question from John in the chat saying, what does Rob think about Max Fried and the ridiculous start to the season that really halted in July, and we haven't seen him pick back up? So have you noticed anything about him compared to what you were seeing at the beginning of the year?
Not tipping wise, but he introduced some new pitches. He introduced new wrinkles on his pitches that I believe his sinker is different. And he's throwing a little cutter thing that's a lot more exaggerated. And I think these hitters are able to game plan it off, over time. And he's been a little just less sharp, but also I believe he had a blister issue, and that definitely causes problems as well. But pitchers add pitches. Hitters are like, I've never seen that before. It doesn't compute. It's not on the scouting report. And then later on, it is on a scouting report, and you can practice against it. So the league can catch up, and then it's up to him to make adjustments to stay ahead. But he's great. Like, Max Fried's awesome.
I agree. Speaking of another guy who is now coming back and is part of a team trying to make a push here, maybe even for their own division, that's San Diego Padres. Michael King. We're gonna see the East-West guy back at it. What can we expect from Michael King? What is something you would look forward to as maybe a benchmark to see how sharp he is coming off the aisle?
Yeah, I mean, just making sure his velo is back where it was, and the East-West movement. Like, that dude is absolutely filled. He's made for pitching ninja. Like, his stuff is just gross both ways. I mean, he throws sweepers that break like well over 2 feet, and sinkers that come back the other way, breaking 2 feet. Like, it's absurd stuff. So if he has that type of command, he is an incredibly valuable pitcher. I love watching that guy pitch.
Okay, so this is perfect for me to finish up with my last question. We're hitting Padres. Padres fans are pumped with everything they picked up at the trade deadline, and then you don't even have King for a while. Here comes King this weekend. What about the other side, the Dodgers? Ohtani specifically, what are you seeing from him on the mound this year?
Oh my God. Like he's a guy I can talk about for the next hour and a half if you want me to. But dude, he adds velo. You know, he's throwing 101, topped at 102. His sweeper, I think, has probably got a little less horizontal break, but he's throwing a little harder. His stuff is just it's obscene. His slider's been really good. Like just the pure slider, the thing that drops off the table has been an eye opener for me because I didn't view that as one of his better pitches just in my head. I haven't looked metrically, but he dominated last game with that. And then also hits 440-foot bombs. Anybody that thinks that dude shouldn't pitch, send him to me because that guy is I mean, is he not one of the filthiest pitchers in baseball? Is he not one of the best pitchers on that staff? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe whoever's saying that doesn't want the Dodgers to be competitive in October. I mean, it could be a little troll thing, but no, I mean, I've seen it too. It's crazy, you know, and I get it. There's concern. We've had players on our show, right? My buddies Kratz and AJ have at least brought up how is it going to affect the offense as he gets older, as he gets hurt. It's like I get all of that, but not if he's pitching like a 1. If he's a 5, okay, and the offense is dipping, okay, you want to make that case, cool. But he's a 1, and he homered the other day when he pitched. So I'm with you, Rob. I don't really see what you're gonna do now. If he gets hurt in a major injury again, we're gonna have this discussion again. But right now, you don't mess with anything, right?
I think people forgot how good a pitcher he is because you cannot tell me he's not one of the best pitchers on that team. I had a projection the other day, just a crazy thought that wouldn't it break baseball if like he closes out the World Series for the Dodgers like he did in the WBC for Team Japan? Like if he did that, what do? You just like have to bow down to the guy.
It's funny you mentioned that. That was me in the second half of last year. I'm like, will he do it? Just because he would, right? I mean, the Dodgers eventually shut down the thought process there, but I was like, could he just pop up for, I don't know, the World Series? He was going through his rehab. I'm like, could they snag an inning or two out of him? And then, of course, you're getting the pushback like, oh, well, they're not going to need that. And then Walker Buehler's closing out the World Series, and you're like, no, they would have used a few innings there from Shohei Ohtani, even 80% of Shohei Ohtani. So I'm with you, dude. I hope we see it.
I hope we do too. Like legit, like that would be absolutely amazing. And the Dodgers are fully reloaded now, right? They got Trinan back. They got Glasnow back, Snell back. I mean, that's a scary team.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. Next Dodgers Padres matchup is circled on the calendar. There's 2 of them back-to-back weekends. I think it is coming up in mid-August here. So, Rob, this was awesome, man. Great nerding out on pitching with you. Everyone check out all of the Pitching Ninja accounts, YouTube, Twitter, etc. We showed a little piece of that Michael King sweeper. There's a lot more where that came from if you check out Pitching Ninja. Rob, thank you, man. Good catching up. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
You too. All right, FT fan, be right back. We're going to do some MAYsplaining. We're going to hit 100-mile-an-hour fastballs from 16-year-olds and the key to the Blue Jays' offensive success. All right, just a little fun one for you. Today is 8-8. Some candidates for best player to ever wear the number 8. Do you want me to read the list so you can stew?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Cal Ripken Jr., Carl Yastrzemski, Joe Morgan, Yogi Berra, Willie Stargell, Gary Carter, other. Obviously, I'm sure we're missing a guy or two, and a fan's going to call it out. But at least from that list, what do you like?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which group of fan bases am I more okay with offending? Oof. I'll go. Yogi Berra.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
And also,
that's a good list.
It's a good list.
It's just the most iconic player from all 6 different organizations. No big deal.
Yeah, we made it pretty tough. For me, we're not doing the whole deep dive on stats right now and playing that whole game. It's just like Yogiisms. I love those. So you could be like that, or you could be like
catching's hard. Yeah. We'll go with Yogi.
Yeah. I mean, if you're I'm an Iron Man guy and I like people who show up every day, the best ability is durability, blah, 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 then Cal's your pick there. You can't go wrong. That's the point. But happy 8-8 to all those who celebrate. All right. So coming up next, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about high schoolers throwing a hundo plus and get Trevor's thoughts. We are going to talk about the key to the Blue Jays' offensive success. And then our last guest on a Friday here will be Tim Britton to make sure that the Mets are okay. It's become my new favorite question in the last few months. Just like a nice simple at the top when a team's struggling. Are they okay? Always produces a fun answer. So we'll do that coming up in about a minute here. Still taking questions. We'll preview some series matchups coming up as well. And then, yeah, I'm checking out the chat a little bit more than I have recently. So, Jay in the chat, weren't the FT guys part of the Ohtani should focus on hitting crowd a few months ago? I don't think they took it that far. I think they just wanted to see how his bat would look. I'm not going to totally represent AJ and Kratz right now, but they were just like, I want to see what his bat looks like. He's been hurt for a while. Like, I thought it was a fair point to bring up on our show. They weren't like, he shouldn't pitch.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, guys. Just like when something starts to degrade, then you gotta be like, is he good? Is he as good as he used to be at this? Then maybe it's time to switch. That time's gonna come. Now is not the time. He is a difference maker on both sides of the field. And as long as his body holds up, you gotta go with it. You gotta go with it.
Yeah, I think he'll hit longer in his career than he'll pitch, but he's still got innings left. Hey, when you get a chance, subscribe to Foul Territory on YouTube. We are getting very close to 300,000 subscribers on the channel and love all of them. So we'd love you to join us on that channel as we break down everything going on across the sport. It is baseball the way it should be covered at Foul Territory. Give us a sub. MAYsplaining, one of the most popular segments in baseball. You can find it on May Day. You can watch that show, Hour 1, on the FT network on Wednesdays, 3 o'clock Eastern, and then Hour 2 on Trevor's channel on YouTube, 4 o'clock Eastern. Okay, so I got 2 topics for you. Let's start with Baseball America senior editor Josh Norris putting out an article and a tweet about the last 3 weeks, him witnessing not one, but 2 16-year-olds throwing 100 miles an hour, Kevin DeFrank and Striker Pence, which is an A-plus name. That's an 80 grade name. But I'll focus on Pence because it's Hunter's nephew. What do you think about youngsters throwing a hundo plus? I don't know these guys. I haven't even watched video, to be honest. I didn't do much homework on this. So, and not that I'm going to even be able to chime in much on the delivery. Like, is it easy gas? But what do you think of a hundo plus from 16-year-olds?
It's too hard, probably. But there's a few things that I think I get lost in translation when talking about these subjects. Now, and I also agree, Striker Pence is an elite name, and a guy who throws 100 named Striker, come on. He's either going to pitch in the major leagues or be a fighter pilot. So I think getting back to kind of talk how pitching development is, like hunting velocity, not new. Very much not new. Every baseball camp I went to as a kid in the 90s and the early 2000s, we could not wait to get to the station that had the radar gun. It was a conversation between which guns are more accurate, stalker guns or jugs guns. Jugs give you more velo, so we like to have those ones. Like, we all knew about all this stuff. You saw a gun behind the backstop, you were jazzed up. You wanted to know what that number told you. Like, the days of going out there and not knowing how hard you're throwing, they're over. They've been over for a long time because technology has come a long way. So, of course, now that information's more readily available, it's a comparative stat to other people your age. Like, teenagers they struggle with that with everything. Like, always comparing themselves to everybody. And so this is another thing on the baseball field that you can show that, like, I am good, I'm really good, or I'm better, or whatever. So that hunt for velocity has always existed, and of course it's going to exist. The problem is we now know how to get it, and we know how to optimize guys to get the maximum velocity. And when you're 16 years old, you optimizing a 16-year-old's body doesn't make sense because it's going to be different in a month. So that's, I think, where it becomes not the greatest thing in the world, because you're optimizing for a person who is not done growing, very likely, unless they're very early mature. And that could completely derail the whole thing anyways, to where that 100 at 16 is now 91 at 21. And because they just simply can't, like, something broke down and just didn't heal as they were growing, didn't heal the way they needed to heal, and they didn't max out at the right time. It's called peaking early. And I've played against some guys when I was young. There's a couple 16-year-olds in my league that threw 96, 97. They were absolutely insane. And then when they went to college, they were down to 88 to 91 because they had to deal with some stuff. So it is just part of the way it happens. And I think that what we're trying to do, it doesn't mean like, let's focus on command. It's just maybe don't only focus on velocity, and maybe learning different pitches, learning other positions, playing. Don't become a pitcher only. There's a lot of ways to, I think, mitigate this stuff. But there's no one way. I think it's just, it's incentives. It comes down to incentives. What are we incentivizing? Do we want this guy to pitch long term? Them optimizing him right now. You got to leave some potential, some ceiling here to when they are a grown adult to then peak when it matters. And I think the only time that chancing this type of elo is worth it is in the major leagues.
What if, a 16-year-old's like, oh, it's just coming out of the hand like this? Like, how easy is it to take a lot off of a pitch? Like, what if you're someone who's just feeling like naturally, maybe you're not throwing 100, but you're pumping well into the upper 90s? How do you coach someone through that?
Then it comes down to if that person's naturally, if they're a Jacob deGrom type and they're just naturally adding velocity because something has clicked for them physically and they don't really know what it is, figuring out what that is and then building all of your apparatus around it, your mechanical stuff around it, strengthening every part of that chain to protect them and allow them able to do it longer. It's just about getting stronger and stronger and stronger and then just letting them keep just doing it naturally. So it becomes on the back end, like, we're not worried about you getting, like, it's not about trying to get you to slow down or take your foot off the gas if you're not putting your foot on the gas. But if you're out there with intent to throw 100%, that's when you're like maybe we throw changeups at 100%, right? Maybe we mix in more changeups because naturally they're just easier on the arm overall. There's just not as much pressure going on the forearm and the elbow. There are ways, but again, like, if it's natural and they're doing it naturally, not necessarily trying to throw as they can, then you just build them physically to be able to operate in that space and do the work necessary to maintain.
Yeah, the part that really struck with me was, hey, you either played with or played against some guys that were 96, 97 in high school, and then they're in college and they're not throwing hard and they're going through injuries. I mean, anyone that's been in baseball for a long period of time, even someone like me, a broadcaster, has met a ton of people who say, hey, I was in high school, I was the man, homie, right? Like, hey, I was throwing 95 plus, all that. And then you're like, what happened? And some of them are probably inflating their statistics, but some aren't. There are those ridiculous players. I mean, I remember a kid in my high school who was like that, ended up playing college baseball, but kind of flamed out and had the build. You thought, oh, this guy's probably going to make it. No, shoulder injury. So it happens all the time. There are so many stories like that. So anyway, clip this and let's table that Toronto Blue Jays conversation. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the show because Tim Britton's ready to go. We'll talk Mets next. FT fam, we often talk about HelloFresh, but we also talk about Green Chef for your wellness journey. Or if you're a little annoying like me and you need the gluten-free, or you've got a friend that's plant-based, or you're like, hey, I'm going with the protein-heavy approach. They've got it all on Green Chef.
Listen, the weekly meals they come with all the time, it's different, it's satisfying, and it's something you really want to do. I'm a guy that needs something healthy as I move forward. Can't be the chicken tenders and fries all the time. It's got to be those healthy meals that I need as I'm getting older.
fresh, organic, seasonal produce, 100% responsibly sourced proteins to help you feel your best. Make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/50territory and use code 50territory to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50territory at greenchef.com/50 TERRITORY. 50 territory. Yay or nay on this one, Trevor? Minor leaguer hits for the cycle, asks for the baseball. You good with that?
Absolutely. I as a guy who did not enjoy cool stuff enough when he played, and I of course realized at the moment I'd stopped. Yeah, I mean, how often do you say it for the? You might never do it again. I mean, I was just flexing high school no hitters. So you should enjoy the things, and you get the ball. That might be the only thing he ever gets to do in pro ball. Enjoy the stuff you get and get excited about it. And I bet you nobody in that park or in either dugout had any problem with that. It's a pretty cool accomplishment. It's not easy to do. You don't see it every day.
I wonder, I'm sure there's been, and I agree with you, by the way, I'm sure there's been a guy who's calling for a baseball where you're like, what is this for?
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, okay, all right, well,
weird milestone,
rarely,
Yeah.
Very
Have you
rarely
ever seen one where it's like, it's because it's his, 80th hit, and 80 is my lucky number. I don't know, just something like really stupid, ridiculous, where you're like, why is that guy asking for memorabilia right now in a major league game?
I've never seen anything like that. Usually it's like, haven't had a hit in a month. And they're like, hey, can I get that one?
But do they actually get it for him? I've seen that, but I've seen that where they're joking, oh, this dude just broke it.
Sometimes they're like, a joke, and
do they actually throw it in?
Yeah. And they put it in their they put it in their locker. Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's a great gag.
Tim Britton is a senior writer at The Athletic covering the New York Mets. Welcome back to the show, Tim. How you doing? And I'll start the way I promised everyone else I would start. Are the Mets okay?
They're okay for now, I guess. It's been a rough almost 2 months now for the Mets. So I'm doing better than the Mets right now, personally, probably. Yeah, I'm doing. The season really pivoted for them in the middle of June, and they seemed like they were right in the ship for a little bit there toward the end of July, and then they went into San Diego, got swept, came home, got swept, and have lost 8 of 9 now. So it's been just a rough go of it for a team that just hasn't shown any kind of consistency and doesn't really look like the team they were for the first 2.5 months of the year over the last 2 months.
Tim, I'm going to come out hot here, and I apologize ahead of time, but I'm going to do it anyways. Having been in that clubhouse for 2 years, and I know how this question gets brought up quite often, but there's been people saying the team has no heart. Is there any veracity to this statement, or is this just a classic? We got to ask that question every year when things aren't going well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that comes up, I think, more and more when a team struggles offensively the way the Mets have. Like if you go out there and you lose a game 13-11, no one really questions your heart because you were in it. If you lose 2-0, if you go into a ninth inning like they did on Wednesday, being no hit by Gavin Williams, like then it really looks like you're flat, like you're not trying, like you don't have any heart. So having been covering the Mets for a while, when they've gone through different offensive slumps, that is the number one thing that fans bring up. I don't think that's an issue. I mean, this is largely the same clubhouse that showed a lot of heart in the way they came back last season over the final 4 months of the year. Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, I think have the pulse of that room pretty well at this point. Pete Alonso is a guy who's been there for a while. Jeff McNeil. These are not guys who kind of roll over when things get tough. At least not anymore the way they did maybe back in 21 when things really went south for them in August. But since then, they've shown a little bit more resolve in that regard, especially last year. So I don't think it's a heart issue. I think it's just that really no phase of the game are they playing well for 6 to 8 weeks now.
The thing that stands out to me, first of all, is that the team's pretty healthy, which is always great, right? The team's in a good spot compared to most other teams. I mean, look at the Atlanta Braves, for example, right? They're missing their whole rotation. They're missing a lot of bats, all that, right? So with the Mets, I'm wondering when you see multiple superstars struggle at the same time, if there's some approach, some strategy from teams that you're seeing frequently. Last year, what stood out to me with the Texas Rangers after they won a World Series is how teams were beating them with heaters, high heaters. They just like couldn't as a team hit them. There might have been one or two guys, but for the most part, that was the MO for the Rangers, and their offense fell apart after winning a World Series. Are you seeing any trends like that where teams are taking advantage of a weakness with the Mets?
So the two things that stand out, one, I think they're, last I checked about a week ago, they were like 28th in the league against sliders. That's a tough pitch to struggle against at this level. That's a pitch you see an awful lot of. And then the other one is against left-handed pitching. We've seen this kind of across the game this year, that the right-handers have not had the kind of success they're used to having against left-handed pitching. For the Mets, it's really been borne out with Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso having pretty terrible years against lefties. The Mets lefties have been better against left-handed pitching than their righties have been. And so we've seen a lot of, the top part of the Mets order, which is, some combination of Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, and Alonso. We're seeing a lot of teams go to their lefty reliever to handle that part of the order, or have a left-handed starter go through that a third time through the order, because they believe that part of the order is more vulnerable to lefties than it should be theoretically. So I haven't looked up their exact record against lefties, but I know it's significantly worse than the record against righties. So that's been an area where they've really struggled of late, and against the sliders as well, which plays into that at the same time.
You mentioned Pete Alonso, who, after coming on this 1-year deal and really putting up numbers, some of his best months ever in the first half, then went into July and had, statistically, I think, if not the worst year he's ever had hitting-wise, one of the worst months. So in terms of him specifically, and he is struggling with lefties, you mentioned that, but what specifically do we think is happening with him and his bat? Is he between pitches? Is he not seeing something well? What do you see out of Pete?
Yeah, I think he said this last week, that kind of when he's in a slump the way he was in the month of July, you can tell at the way he chases pitches down and away. It's the slider, mainly. Like he feels better if his chase is up in the zone and he's missing fastballs up, he's okay with that. He feels like he's going to get to that pitch eventually. He's going to have better discernment on it. When he's chasing the sliders, that's when he's out of whack. And we saw that in July. You're right. I think the OPS was like 548 or something like that in the month of July, a far cry from where he was in April and May in particular. And so, like the Mets order is the entire team is built on that top four in the order being as good as any in baseball. And while Lindor, Alonso, and Soto have had good individual months, Nimmo has been good in stretches. There's really been no point this season where they've all clicked, and there have been a lot more points where none of them have, like most recently. So that's the part of the order that's supposed to carry the team. It's supposed to overcome the weaknesses they have elsewhere on the roster. It just has not worked out that way really at any point this season.
Well, it's okay. I mean, you just need a dose of medicine over the weekend against, it's the best record in baseball that they're facing, the Milwaukee Brewers, right? I just keep thinking about the Blue Jays getting a little slumpy, and then they destroy the Rockies over the last several days. The Mets will not have that luxury. They're in Milwaukee, although good times. Last time they were in Milwaukee with the wild card game 3, Pete Alonso, the big homer off Gavin Williams, who's now a Yankee. Do you think a series like this can spark them in a positive end, because they're going to be playing against the top team right now record-wise and just some top-level competition? I mean, the last couple series they're taking on the Guardians and the Giants, both okay teams, but the Brewers are the cream of the crop right now.
I mean, you would sure hope that if it is a motivation issue, that they'd be getting up for this series. The team they played in the playoffs last year, a team that, until that playoff series had really had their number, especially in Milwaukee, dating back like 6-7 years. I think the Mets have only won one series in Milwaukee since 2017, outside of the wild card series. So that's a place where they've really struggled historically. It's a team that has given them trouble because of the style that it plays. The Mets have been better against opposing base stealers this year than they were last year, but that is an issue for them at times. A team that puts the ball in play and challenges their defense the way Milwaukee does. So I think this is, they need to put together a good series. We saw them, when they were in that tough stretch in late June when they lost 14 of 17. It was a series win over the Brewers that got them out of it. They took 2 out of 3 at home against Milwaukee at the start of July, then took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. That got them back into kind of a better state of play for, maybe 3.5 weeks until they'd hit this most recent skid. But, this is the kind of team, the National League is a gauntlet. And this is the kind of team you're going to have to play well against in the final 2 months. And then, of course, into October if you want to get back to where they were last year.
Well, let's hope they are able to pull some of these out and get the fire lit a little bit. Speaking of weird kind of slumpy stuff happening, especially in the lineup, Juan Soto, who is by all metrics having a Juan Soto style year, there is one big glaring split that makes no sense to me, and I am still yet to figure out what's going on, and that is his production with the bases empty versus people on base. He's has over 1,000 OPS with bases empty, and with runners off, it's a 650, which is something that's never showed up for in his career. He is actually one of the guys with the bat, I think maybe the best in the league, that doesn't have these weird splits. He's pretty much consistently against everybody all the time. So that leads me to think that, is this an intent? Is there something he's trying to do or someone he's trying to be in those situations? Have you heard anything about mindset or approach with guys on base that is different this year than maybe would have been past for Juan Soto that explain it? And if not, do you have any theories?
I haven't heard anything. No one has said anything about him individually in that respect. We've seen this has been an issue for the Mets as a unit for most of the season in terms of bases empty versus runners in scoring position. The OPS is 50 or 60 points different. That changed in July. The unfortunate thing is it changed because they stopped hitting with nobody on. But like they talked about, when it starts to become an issue for a team, you press a little bit. So I can imagine when this shows up as a weird split for Soto through April in his first season with the Mets, you can imagine him maybe pressing in those spots a little bit more. He's not the type of guy who would admit that, and I don't think anyone on the Mets would admit that on his behalf. But it's funny because before the season, I was looking at who had the best debut season as a Met in history. And you look at like Mike Piazza's numbers in 1998. He was incredible for them for the most part. But I had remembered watching that season and thinking vaguely that he had a bad year. And it was because he had very similar splits to this. It was kind of no one on base versus runners in scoring position. So the thought was like, well, Piazza's getting his numbers when it doesn't matter. And Soto's getting his numbers when it doesn't matter. He's not coming through in the big spots. I think these are the kinds of things that even out over time. It is kind of just a weird split for now. I'm surprised it has lasted even this long. But I can imagine it snowballing just a little bit on him. But he's the type of guy who, once he gets out of it a little bit, I think will start to go in the other direction.
Tim, where do you stand on the hitting coach conversation? I tend to think that some can make a massive difference. Others are definitely not as good as at their craft, right? And then most of them are in the middle, where it depends on personnel, the players that you're connecting with, etc. This team has a lot of superstars. They've been in the league for a while. They know what they're doing. But I'm sure there's a little heat. New York fans, Mets fans, they want to come after someone. And Eric Chavez is the hitting coach. He was a great big leaguer, but he's the hitting coach with the Mets right now. And that's the one who's being asked about. So what is your thought on that topic?
Yeah, I think if you ever want to make a change with your hitting coaches, you have to know what you want to do instead. I go back, the Mets in 2021 fired Chili Davis and Tom Slater as their hitting coaches, I think on like May 2nd. It was as early as any team had fired their hitting coaches. They wanted to get more analytical. And it kind of they brought in Hugh Quattlebaum to run things. Hugh Quattlebaum. And it kind of overwhelmed their hitters for the rest of the season. It was difficult for them to make that adjustment on the fly. And so, bringing in a different hitting coach in the middle of the season, it's kind of like bringing in a different catcher. He's got to learn everything on the run, and it becomes difficult. You see, I remember looking at the numbers of how much teams improve, and they do a little bit when you fire a hitting coach, bring in someone else, but that's generally explained more by regression. So I think if the Mets wanted to make a move with Chavez, with Jeremy Barnes, they're the co-hitting coaches. They've both been there for 4 years. They know those hitters pretty well at this point. They bring different approaches. Barnes is more the analytical and mechanical guy. Chavez is more of the experience and mental guy. They work with different hitters differently. I think if you wanted to make a change there, if you're David Stearns, who I don't believe has fired a coach midseason in his tenure as a general manager or a president of baseball operations, then you've got to know this is the guy I'm bringing in, or these are the guys I'm bringing in, and this is what we're going to do differently. You've got to have a really set plan rather than just firing someone to fire someone.
Having been in that clubhouse when Hugh came on, confusion is the correct word. I can confirm that is definitely what was happening. So big picture, we're looking at positive trends. We want to turn things around. We want the team to put themselves in better positions to score more runs and win. What are a couple things you would like to see as the lineup kind of unveils through a game that maybe even if the results aren't quite there, we're seeing better at bats. What types of things would you look for to see that trend maybe moving in the better direction? Some early signs.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got to stop having these like 3, 4, 5 inning, or as I did earlier, it was like 14 inning stretches where they're going hitless. They're having too many 1, 2, 3 innings against opposing staffs. So getting guys on base, just creating the opportunities that they were creating in April, May, and the first half of June, and then coming through with runners in scoring position in a way they weren't at that point. And they started doing in July just with fewer opportunities. So I think kind of meshing those two aspects, hitting with nobody on, hitting with runners on, the way we've talked about. And then I do think like we focused a lot on the offense. Like the starting pitching staff has to lead the way as well. That they were first in rotation ERA in the National League through June 12th. I think June 13th is kind of when this shifted for them, when they blew a 5-run lead and lost to the Rays. And since then, they're 29th in baseball in rotation ERA. So it's been a real shift for them. The whole staff ERA has been worse. But leading from the rotation, guys kind of beyond David Peterson and now Sean Manaea is back, pitching into the 6th inning and beyond. Kodai Senga looking like he did earlier in the season could help, to the point where it's not a 2-0 game in the 6th inning every night, or where they need to score 7 runs to win a game. I think having a starter go out there and win you a game the way like Gavin Williams did against them on Wednesday could help start them in the other direction, get that rock moving the opposite way.
I'll stay on the rotation. A guy that our show has had consensus on over the past couple years, and this is what we do on shows. Frankie Montas. AJ will put it more bluntly usually than I will. How is this guy getting contracts like this? I mean, he signed for 2 years, $34 million. There's certain pitchers in the offseason where you're like, man, this guy can't find a home. And it's 2 years, $34 million, I think, with a player option for next year. So he could opt out if he was really good. He's not opting out, newsflash. But what's going on with Frankie Montas? What's the plan with him? And has the organization talked about, what they're seeing, from him now that is leading to the struggles, what they liked about him that led to the signing in the offseason? Of course, he's had a lot of injury issues. That was the case this year. He comes back, but he's not pitching well.
Yeah, and so in the offseason, they liked his stuff. They thought like what he did over the final 2 months with Milwaukee last year, when he brought his velocity back up, was kind of him coming off of the shoulder injury that he had with the Yankees. This was the kind of the in-between year he needed, and he was going to take off the following season. That's why they made the gamble on him with the 2-year deal, including the player option, for the salary that they did, which I do think surprised a lot of people in the industry. What's been off, really, he had the injury in spring training. Didn't come back into the rotation until June. While he was even on his rehab assignment, he was getting hit hard. It's been like a mechanical issue that he's been working through for most of that time, just to be more repeatable and to put the ball where he wants to. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is if you can't put it where you want to enough of the time. And that's been carried over for a while. So they've talked about maybe using an opener in front of him. Paul Blackburn is about ready to come back from his own injury. He would be another option. Most Mets fans roll their eyes at that possibility and look more longingly at AAA, where you've got Brandon Sproat and Nolan McLean, two of their best pitching prospects, who appear just about ready to come to the big league level. Sproat, after a tough first couple months, has really looked good of late. McLean's been pretty consistent all season long. And David Stearns has been open to that idea throughout this season. So it would not surprise me if we saw one of those two before long in the major leagues. But Montas, I think is probably pitching for his spot in the rotation the next start or two here, where the team needs him to pitch well. That they're not in such a good spot in the standings anymore, where they can afford the luxury of letting their fifth starter go out there and wear it every fifth day. They need something out of that spot, and they need it soon.
That's why it's crazy to me, because if he can't kick it as a starter, I don't know if he's the reliever type. And then if that's not the case, still on the hook for another season. I mean, I guess you can Phantom IL him, but Mets got a little light punishment for that in the past. So we'll see. That's why I'm following this one closely, Tim. We'll keep an eye on it. Last one here real quick on that. Like if it doesn't work out for him in the rotation, I mean, they can't really do much with him. I don't think you can option him without his permission, right? So
Right.
They would have to put him on waivers.
So yeah. I mean, like the options would go, you send him to the bullpen, which is something they were contemplating when his rehab assignment was going as poorly as it was before they had some injuries in their rotation that opened up a spot for him. You can send him to the bullpen as kind of the eighth guy there and the long guy. That would push, Blackburn is kind of the guy who's slated for that role when he does come back. but they could move on from him as well. He has not pitched well this year either. If you decide that you don't have room for him on the major league roster, it's exposing him to waivers, it's DFAing him, it's potentially releasing him and eating what's left on that contract, including next year. So that would be a costly move to make, but one that the Mets could afford in a way that most other teams cannot, and that is one of the luxuries they have still.
That's true. And hey, David Stearns has hit on a lot of those types of projects. You are not going to hit on all of them, right? I mean, he really nailed it last year. They're not all going to work out. So we'll see what happens with Frankie. Tim, this was awesome. Thank you so much for catching up with us. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the series out there, and we'll catch you soon.
Oh, you too. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Tim Britton, senior writer for The Athletic, covers the Mets. Check him out on Twitter and check out his articles in The Athletic. Here we go. Locks for the weekend. BetMGM Locks coming up. And first, your free game of the day. It is Red Sox Padres. Like it. 9:40 Eastern. It's streaming on the BetMGM app. Live streaming is available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and with funded accounts. 2 wild card hopefuls at the moment. Padres chasing the Dodgers for the division. And yesterday's locks were not too good. Me lose. KP lost. Well, that was a tough plus 400 piece to put on Stowers. Had a great year, but needed a homer out of him. Cam pushed, but he wins some money because he got the Pittsburgh money line part of it, which is about minus 170. Just makes a lot less than the plus 180 because that game ended in 7-0 final. There's your money bags. I suck this year, but everyone else is in pretty good shape, including Trevor May with $20. So what are you going to do today, Trevor?
Gonna not just go straight up money line this time. We're gonna go with Philly and Texas, the over. I believe it is Christopher Sanchez versus Merrill Kelly. So I'm taking a chance here, getting a little spicy. But I'm also tempted to just take my $20 and cash out and go buy nothing because you can't buy anything with $20 now. So I guess I got to stay in. Yeah, we're gonna stay in. We got to win the day, and then maybe get some groceries.
A drink, depending on where you are in the country.
Maybe.
But yeah, like I'm going to a birthday party later and I'm in New York. So I am not getting a drink really for $20 these days in New York. Not a good one, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. All right, for me, I'll go with a pretty even game. Twins are lightly favored with Joe Ryan against the Royals' Seth Lugo. To me, that's like a toss-up. I'm going to take the KC side of things. I like the offense. I think this team is going to go on a little streak again. I mean, they bought at the trade deadline, so I'll see if the Royals start that wave this weekend against the depleted Twins team that's been playing fine since the trade deadline, but I think it'll eventually fall off a bit for them. So Royals money line for me, they're at plus 112 tonight. So I'm going to throw down 200. It's Friday, 200 to win 224. And then when we come back, we'll get Pap's break when we do this again for the BetMGM Locks. But coming up next, we will get to that Blue Jays topic. Toronto fans are all over YouTube. They hated our power rankings yesterday. They wanted us to create a number even better than 1 and put them above that. They were not 1. We picked the Brewers for all of that. But we'll see if we can make them happy here by dissecting how their offense is working so well this year versus the last couple years. We'll do that coming up. Hot corner time. The Toronto Blue Jays are having a banger year. They've been great. They have been surprisingly great. The offense has taken a significant turn. We've seen the names on paper for several years, and this year it's all coming together for them, Trevor. One of the big reasons for that is the drastic turn in their contact rate. So let's look at the strikeout numbers for the Blue Jays because they stand out a ton. Blue Jays today with this tweet, the Jays are averaging 6.58 strikeouts per game. The next best team, 6.90. They said that's frankly ridiculous. Dave Popkins actually might be a hitting wizard, talking about their hitting coach. That might not seem like a large number, but that is a very massive difference, 6.58 to 6.90 when you have this many baseball games, right? We're over 100 games into the season. I think 110, maybe even a little bit more than that, 115. So anyway, your thoughts on how the Blue Jays have turned things around. 6.58, and just to give everyone a little more context, The Kansas City Royals are next, and they are often contact kings in that category, 6.90 Ks per game. Then the Padres at 7.02. And then there's another big drop off to St. Louis and Houston, both at 7.77 strikeouts per game. What are you seeing with Toronto, and how annoying is it for pitchers to face them right now?
Well, it seems like this is a very conscious effort to not strike out as much, especially because they had last year no power. And that was a major issue. That's why they went out and got Santander. Like, they wanted to bolster that power side. You just didn't know where, Bo Bichette has been on or off, up to this point in his career. In terms of on the power side, you can't just only rely on Vladdy for all of your power. So if you can't rely on power driving a lot of your production, you got to do all the little things, and you got to make sure that at least we're not giving away at bats, and at least we are putting the ball in play and letting athleticism take over, because the game is also, with all the rule changes, has shifted towards really putting pressure on teams defensively, needing to be able to make plays that they're maybe not positioned as well for. So leaning into that makes a lot of sense. Your team, if you're a team that doesn't strike out a lot, like the number 2 team, for example, Kansas City on this list is 6.9, like they don't have a lot of power either, right? And they don't score a lot at the moment, but they don't just get dominated and just struck out by these really good pitchers that we see everywhere. Strikeouts are the way here in baseball. Everyone wants to get strikeouts. So if you can just frustrate strikeout pitchers top to bottom, if a guy goes into an outing thinking, this is going to suck, and even if I throw zeros, they're going to make me work for it, and I'm not going to have any of these 9-pitch, immaculate innings probably. I'm going to have to be making my good pitches and be okay when I'm not getting swings and misses, and not letting, outing or batters get to 10 pitch at bats. But they're doing that, and they're doing it regularly. They're doing it 1 through 9. And I think that has put them in a really good position to wear great pitching down and be a little bit daunting, even if they're still not just hitting the cover off the ball over the fence all the time. That combined with, guys like George Springer having the year he's having, and an increase of the power at the same time has really translated in them leading that division. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So I'm going to take this to the next step, because for Blue Jays fans, they're looking forward. Playoffs. If this team keeps this up, they're going to be playing some October baseball. They haven't gone as far as they wanted to go, even when they had, some better times a few years ago, and then even going back 10 years, right? Like, how does this team get past the American League, which in my mind is still down like it was last year compared to the National League? It's my opinion. Again, I've gotten knocked for it recently, but last year that opinion worked out pretty well for me. I thought there were about 5 or 6 teams that could beat the Yankees. So this year for the Blue Jays, how do they get to the World Series? Do you think that this style will play well in October? There's been a lot written about this, Trevor, over the last 5 to 10 years. I love contact. I want contact to win in October, but you still need some serious slug because the pitching gets tightened up. It's the best pitching, and you're facing even less on a staff, right? You're going to face basically the top 3 starters and the top 4 relievers-ish on each team. So how does that look in October?
Well, I think that this approach, the non-strikeout approach, works better than the other thing. Than if you're strikeout heavy, but you have big boppers. I think those guys get abused by great pitchers. Running to a Tarek Skubal or something in the first round is not going to be fun for anybody. But if you can go up there and get the 2 extra pitches per inning, and so he only can throw 5 or 5 1/3 as opposed to 8, right? You're going to get the best guys. So if you're able to put the bat on the ball more often, you're putting yourself in a better position. Now, you need the big swings. You need the guys to come up clutch. You need to get the big hit, right? But if you can grind that out, it's highly charged atmosphere. You're using a lot of energy as a pitcher. And if you can fight against that, and the guy can't depend on his ability to get a strikeout the way he did during the regular season, you're putting yourself in a good position to grind guys down. As someone who pitched extensively to the 2015 Kansas City Royals, who did not have a lot of slug and nobody struck out, and it was so frustrating because that was my one thing that I did well. Like, we saw it in the playoffs. They just wore teams down. They were not a fun team to pitch against. They kept running into nasty guy after nasty guy and just fought, and their pitching was good enough, their bullpen was good enough to keep them close, and it ended up coming up on top. And that's how you do it. They would have to approach it in that way, and then have a couple of guys, the Vladdies, the George Springers, the Bo Bichette's, like have a couple big games here and there, and that be the difference. That is probably what it's going to look like if they make a long run.
Yeah, and guys have holes in their swing. Power hitters often have more holes in their swing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, the harder you swing, the more right you have to be on how it's moving and where it is. Like you can't, if you drag your bat through the zone, if you're able to slow and vary your swing speeds, like Juan Soto does that very well. That's why he's so good at making contact. It's just more frustrating than vice versa. And making adjustments in your swing is the way that you are going to hit against these guys. Very few guys are just going forcing fastball and a slider that moves the same way every time. Even relievers. Now relievers have 4 pitches, so you have to be able to work ABs and get these guys tired and less confident in their ability to get you to swing and miss. That's a big deal, especially for bullpens that are pretty much all built around the swing and miss.
And it's hard to string together rallies. That's why, for me, it's super fun to watch a Luis Arraez in the playoffs, a Steven Kwan in the playoffs to counter things, right? Even against, the number 1 starters, right? As Skubal, like it's still really hard for Tarik Skubal to strike out Steven Kwan. And if Kwan can make a little contact and get on base, suddenly things change. He's not just bulldozing the entire lineup. Now, on the other end of that, I mean, Aaron Judge is a complete all-around player, but man, they found a hole, they exploited it, then he started losing confidence. Look at Aaron Judge last year in the playoffs. I mean, that's the best player or top 2 player, him and Ohtani in our sport. And Aaron Judge was terrible, really, for most of the postseason. Kind of found it a little bit towards the end, then had the big drop, but it can happen to anyone. Anyway, Blue Jays fans, let us know your thoughts if you're catching this after the fact. How do you think this team's going to look in the playoffs with the offense that they're putting together? Coming up next, slap hands, but we'll do a little preview of the weekend matchups. And next Wednesday, Mayday's back, part of the FT network. You can catch Trever doing his thing. 2 hours on Wednesdays, 3 o'clock East Coast time, 12 o'clock Pacific, all the way up to 5 o'clock East. Be right back with Trever.
What's up, my beautiful people of the FT Nation? How's everybody doing? I'm in Boston live, giving you this 2-leg parlay. Today, Zach Gallen going against the Rockies. Got to go Zach Gallen, taking them in the leg. And the other leg is we taking the man, the myth, the legend, Tarik Skubal. Can't bet against him. We're going to parlay them together. We get minus 116, so we're going to throw 100 on it. But look, we hot right now, so we're going to stay hot. Let's keep winning that cheese, baby.
Let's go, Pap. Have a weekend. Great backdrop. So he's got Detroit and Arizona. There's Trever rocking the over on the Phillies-Rangers game, and I'll go with the Royals money line tonight. And it also is Friday, so that means the Big Fly Fridays continue, and they now include parlays on the BetMGM app and at BetMGM.com. So you placed your first home run bet of the day. If you do that, parlays are included, a minimum $10 bet on a player or players. If they have the longest home run of the day, you win your share of a $50,000 jackpot for bonus bets. This runs through August. No opt-in necessary. Just apply that Big Fly Friday qualifying token. It gets dropped into your account, and you can use it on the first player or the first players if that's a parlay for you that you take to hit a home run every Friday. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we're back. We're going to finish with slap hands coming up, but can give everyone a little preview. There's some good ones this weekend. I know we talked a little bit about the Mets and the Brewers matching up. We've got the Astros and the Yankees that we can get into, so you'll probably have time to check out one series here. So I'll give you a few options, and then we'll be back in about a minute. But Cubs are matching up with the Cardinals. I hinted how the Red Sox are facing the Padres with a pretty big return of a Michael King. And then also, we got tonight a little classic, a little vintage Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw matchup, and it could be the last time we see those two face each other.
The old timers game. I love it. Put them out there. A lot of gray hair in that one, but we gotta. That's what I'm excited for. But that's just me. There's a lot of fun baseball, and your boy may be doing one last stat cast for the Cardinals Cubs game on Sunday night as well, ESPN 2. So that'll be fun too.
I will be dialed in. All right, let's slap. We're going to continue the conversation as we're looking ahead to the weekend matchups for the next few minutes. And I'm with you. I'm going to watch some Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw facing off tonight. It's obviously two good teams, but also these two will probably never face off again, just in terms of where they are in their career. They first opposed each other on September 7th of 2008. So Sarah Lang said they're the first duo in big league history to start against each other as rookies and then both accumulate 3,000 plus career strikeouts. So I don't know if you remember, but they had that viral moment that was brought up in the past few years. They were both pitching in that game, replacing injured starters and future Hall of Famers. And the open to the broadcast, which we often joke about, is overrated. It's a few minutes, just giving you a quick preview of the game. But that open to that broadcast will forever be in, baseball history and viral. Randy Johnson against Greg Maddux, I think it was. And they're like, sorry, folks, you're going to get these two rookies, Kershaw and Scherzer, instead. And it's like, oh. And little did many people know that they were going to witness, again, two of the better pitchers in Major League history and definitely in our era.
Well, let's hope they pitch because we don't want this to happen. What if the torch got passed and there was two rookies that came in behind him and we're like, is this an indicator of things to come? It's interesting to think about, but I do want to see it. I do want to kind of bookend this head-to-head matchup with two of the greats of our generation. It's crazy they were rookies at the same time. It's very rare that two guys have careers like this and start the same year. So two of the best to do it. And no matter how it goes and no matter how sharp these guys look, like both contending teams, both leading their divisions, it's a meaningful game as well. So bottom line, we're going to see their competitiveness, even what they got after all this time.
And back then, you could maybe slip through the cracks a little bit and you would think, it's hard to do that nowadays. Jacob Mizorowski came on the scene, he's a big dude, but no one saw the Miz looking like this so far this year. So you can still wow people and start a run. Hey, last minute here, happy birthday to our FT teammate, Alana Rizzo. Hope you're enjoying a nice time in that Boston weather, which she doesn't love, but this is actually the time to enjoy it. So hopefully she's outside enjoying a glass of wine. Also, Anthony Rizzo, Yandy Diaz, and Craig Breslow, happy birthday. And Trevor, this was fun, man. Just you and me hanging, chill session in the library.
Chilling. Anytime, man. I love doing this. It's great.
Yeah. Go pick out a good book for me behind you. Something good for me, please. Thank you. Yes. We'll see you on May Day next Wednesday, bud.
See ya.